Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine, yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, welcome, Nathalie. I'm so happy to have you here. It is such a joy and a pleasure to introduce you to my community of women who want to learn how to embody their most beautiful self in 2020. So before we get started, we are in for a big treat, ladies, and learning how to up your image as we step into a new decade. And if you don't know me and you're tuning in for the first time, I'm Dr. Kelly Martin Schuh, Amazon bestselling author, speaker, and dating and relationship coach for women. And I have personally had the opportunity to work with Nathalaie. She is amazing. Let me read you her bio before we dive right in. So Nathalie Chapron believes a person is most compelling when their style is a reflection of their unique essence. She blends her inherited French aesthetics and formal image consulting training to help her clients look and feel their best while aligning their inner and outer beauty. She was sought after internationally as an engaging speaker. She inspires audiences of all sizes to up-level their image. She adores taking clients on shopping trips, which I have personally been able to do. And she takes them to Paris and leads transformative retreats in a castle in the south of France. So welcome, Nathalaie.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm so happy to be here with you and meet your community. It's such an honor. So thank you for having me on this glorious holiday weekend, right?
Yes, as we step into the new year, and I know there are many women listening that are thinking, you know, this is my year. This is my year to up my game. And what a great way to have this conversation with you to see how women can start feeling, you know, I always talk about the inside out, and you turned me on to this new idea of the outside. So I'm curious, how, you know, how did you get into this line of work, and, you know, why do you do what you do?
Such a great question. You know, it's so funny because if you had told me, I don't know, a while ago that I would be doing this work, I would have been like, are you crazy? You know, like, because I grew up in France. So, you know, fashion and style, it's kind of part of the culture. But it was never something that I was really interested in myself. I've been interested in spirituality and, you know, just holistic health, right? And that's my background, actually. I was an Ayurvedic practitioner for a long time. But one thing that happened growing up in France, which was, I think a lot of women unfortunately can relate to this, is I did not feel beautiful. And I had an eating disorder for 10 years. I was bulimic. So I would binge and I would purge almost every day, sometimes several times a day. And the thing was that I was completely isolated in that process. Like nobody knew. It was like my deep, dirty secret, you know? And I just didn't feel worthy of sustenance. I hated myself, not just physically, but just everything about me. And so it was a very, very dark time in my life. And then I moved to the US in my 20s. And when I arrived here, I just decided to pursue a career in holistic health. So I became an Ayurvedic practitioner, first a massage therapist and then an Ayurvedic practitioner. And so what's interesting is that I was learning how to become a good practitioner, and my clients were getting results, right? But I didn't know how to build a business. And so I decided, okay, I needed some help to learn how to do that. So I invested in coaching. And something happened as part of that process that completely changed my life, and that's why I'm here today. So it's just an interesting story. So I was in this training to learn to become a speaker, right? To speak on stages and to share my message with the world. And we had to stand up in one of the trainings, in one of the workshops, right? I had to stand up in front of 3 of my peers, and they had to assess me on my image. And they had to tell me how much they thought I was worth per hour.
Wow.
Based on how I showed up. Right. So for me, you know, At that time, I was charging $100 to $150 an hour as a health coach, right? I grew up in France, so I'm like, I got this style thing down. It's okay. Like, it wasn't a huge area of interest, but I was paying attention. And so I wasn't worried about it. I was like, okay, no problem. So I stand up and they make the assessment and they tell me they think I'm worth $25 to $35 an hour.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. And I was like, what? Like, and it was heartbreaking. I remember I was crying. It was so painful to hear that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it was such a turning point for me because in that moment, I realized that my perceived value and the level at which I was inviting people to invest with me in their health, they were not a match. And until I could match them, I would continue to, struggle to build that business, right? And so it got me in touch with the concept of perceived value, which I hadn't really, I'd heard about first impressions, but it's like it really hit it home. And so right around that time, as fate would have it, I met a couple of people in a webinar, in a workshop, in a training. And there was something special about them, Kelly. They would walk into the room and I was mesmerized. It was like they had something different than anybody else in the room. Their light was brighter, their magnetism was stronger, their power was stronger, and then they were very financially successful. And I was like, what is it about these two people, And so I asked them, I said, hey, what have you done? Like, how did you get to be like that? Because clearly that was now top of mind for me. And so they said, we worked with this woman who helped us align our inner essence with our outer appearance. And she gave us a palette. She gave us a design blueprint. She took us shopping so that our inner and our outer are congruent. And I was like, oh my God, that is what I need next.
Yeah.
And so I worked with this woman and it changed my life. It completely changed my life. It was like all of a sudden I felt better about who I was. It was like for the first time I remember seeing, sitting during the session and watching my colors and crying from this deep sense of recognition of like, oh my God, these are my colors and these are my shapes. And it was like for the first time I could actually appreciate my own beauty. It was so powerful. And I heard a voice. And it's funny because I'm clairsentient and I'm clairvoyant, but I'm not usually clairaudient. But I heard a voice in that session that said, you are going to bring this work to the world. And I kind of just, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't even know what this is about. But the work wouldn't leave me. And I realized that it was for so many of my friends, of my colleagues, of my peers, the image piece was the missing link. So what happened for me was after that session, all of a sudden, everything changed, including in my romantic life. Like before that, I would get into these relationships and I was just not being seen or not being valued, or, it was just dead ends and I was suffering. But after that, it was like, okay, then I was attracting a higher caliber of people, and clients. I was starting to get referrals from clients. I was starting to get speaking engagements. And so my business took off. And then I found my husband shortly after that, and it was just like, wow, it just happened quickly. And yeah.
It's so
funny.
I
realized
my cat in the background is like, meow, meow. And I'm like present to like, you went from like energetically to kind of like that disconnect to like, meow, like you were in your embodiment, like Catwoman, like, just in your beauty, in your essence. I just think it's hysterical. So anyway, I just wanted to, acknowledge my male cat. Meow. Because you made a shift.
You can make this stuff up. Yeah, and so I realized, okay, it is a missing link for so many of us, especially those of us who are more spiritual, intuitive, and who are not really into the whole consumerism, you know, glamour, designer, fashion, trashing the planet for, you know what I mean? Like those of us who have a consciousness around it, we're not attracted to that world, and yet it's so powerful and it's life-changing. And what it is, it's a sacred healing art. And so that's why I'm here doing what I do now. And now I work with, you know, world leaders and, you know, transformational leaders and all over the world. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm just, yeah, I have the best clients in the world. I love what I do. And I'm just deeply, deeply grateful that I've followed that very strange path to get here.
I love how you said, you know, sacred healing path. And that's exactly what I've experienced with you. Like, I've actually never heard of your whole story. So to listen to it, I'm like also aware of the pieces along the journey that I totally connect with. Like for me, prior to working with you, I haven't been one to follow fashion. You know, it just hasn't been important to me. I can remember in medical school, one of my best friends who was way into fashion, and we became best friends. She says, "I'll never forget that you wore socks and Birkenstocks on our first day of class." And I'm like, "I did?" Like, and she's like, "And there were white socks." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." You know, so it's like that, like picture me, like that was medical school, more of like, not that I was the hippie girl, but very more in tune, more spirituality was more important to me, you know. And I was in school in Dallas, where women get all done up and it's all about shopping and big boobs. Like that's what, you know, a lot of Dallas, the women that look beautiful, that's their background. So I had always associated, you know, the glamour and the fashion, you know, with something I just wasn't that interested in. And just this past year, I also started to notice in a group of women, the women that stood out. And I too went and walked up to this woman and said, you know, you are just so beautiful. Like, I love the way your clothes flow. And she said, "I'm working with an image consultant." And so I'm fascinated listening to your story. And kind of like insert self. And then fast forward, I was getting ready to hire somebody locally, and a dear friend said, "Do you know Nathalie?" And I said, "No." She goes, "You know, she works with Sage and some other women that we know. She works with our coach Megan." And I jumped online and I saw the before and afters, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, she is so talented." And then had my VIP experience with you, and my heart said yes, and it was something I couldn't really understand. And yet when you said, you know, a sacred practice, like, I really admire you for what you bring. It's not just about, you know, what is what looks at the external. You're so, you know, such a unique artisan and practitioner to be able to create that match. And I've just been so blessed to work with you, and I wanted to share, you know, you with my community. Like, I'm just thrilled. I'm just so thrilled. So you were talking about how you wanted to share about this powerful mindset shift, and it would allow women to have more loving inner dialogue. So I know that you shared you had a challenge years ago prior to finding this work. And would love to know, what is that key mind shift?
Oh my gosh. I'm just so grateful to be able to share this with them. And it's like, I want women all over the world to know this, right? When we think of image, generally speaking, and how it's oftentimes taught or portrayed or presented out in the world, it is superficial, and it is all outside in. So we're hearing, you know, the color of the year this year is that from Pantone, and we're hearing, you know, okay, so these are the trends this year. And so sometimes it's very wide leg, sometimes it's very skinny leg, sometimes it's wide sleeve, sometimes it's very skinny. Like, it goes up and down, it's changing, it's all over the place, and it's all outside in. And why is that? Well, Because when we use the word fashion industry, what's the key word here is industry. And so the industry is, it's a business. And what they need to sustain that business is for us to keep buying things. That's what a business drives from sales, right? Mm-hmm. So by changing things every year, then if you have last year's fashion, if you're following anything at all, right? Even just buy what you see in the stores, not because you want to, but because that's what's there. You notice, you're like, oh, well, last year the pant legs were really big and this year they're really skinny, or like everybody was doing the rompers or the, you know, like it's like it just changes all the time. And so the big mindset shift that I want women to have is that it doesn't matter what's happening outside. Like what the fashion industry, what the media is telling us, whatever is happening out there doesn't. I want women to essentially tune out that noise and to like say, okay, it really doesn't matter because it's not about me. It's not about you. Everything that's happening out there has nothing to do with you. And so like taking your power back from that, not feeling like you have to follow the trends all the time, not feeling like you have to, you know, be in on the latest fashion or all this and that. That is just absolute BS in my experience.
I love that you're saying
so
that.
Sometimes,
yeah, right, because you'd be constantly chasing, right?
All the time.
Yeah,
all the time, and it's never enough. And then it's like, okay, there's the clothing, and then there's the nowadays there's so many women that are doing cosmetic surgery of all kinds. So it's like all of this information or the messages we're getting as women is like, okay, we're not enough. You know, the way we are, by the way, Mother Nature is not enough. And that's not true. I'm here to say, like, so that's the first thing is like to tune out that noise that's constantly, you know, nagging at us and make us feel inadequate, make us feel wrong, like we're not young enough, or we're not pretty enough, we're not thin enough, we're not whatever enough, right? There's always the thing. And so because of that, then we have to buy this or that to kind of make up for that.
Yeah.
And so just by tuning that out, that's the first step is like, you know, if you're, I don't know, if you're watching a lot of TV with a lot of commercial, maybe switch to Netflix where there's no, you know, commercials on there. Like, I don't know, but just to be able to create spaciousness between you and the world that is constantly bombarding you with the constant messages, whether it's conscious or unconscious, whether it's overt or covert, because a lot of times it's subliminal or it's made through the images, which are all retouched anyway. None of that is real. Even the models are like seeing themselves in the magazines and they're like, I wish I looked like that. They don't, you know, it's not even real.
Right.
So like, okay, like that's the first step is to create distance and spaciousness between you and the bombardment of negative messages, so that you can literally create your own energetic presence and consciousness with yourself without all of that negative stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first step, is creating space. Now, there's another key secret with that one that goes with it. And that is to transform your relationship with mirrors. Mirrors, you know, the mirrors.
Yeah.
So because of what I just said before, because we've been bombarded with so many messages around our image and our beauty from when we were little, right? It could be also not just outside, but like family members, mothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, grandmothers, friends, right? We've all suffered from that. So this kind of outside stuff unfortunately makes its way inside. And then we internalize it, the negativity. And when we look at ourselves in the mirror, for most women, it's to look at what's wrong.
Looking
look
for the
in
flaw.
the mirror and we notice.
Yeah.
Looking for a flaw, looking for what's not right, looking for the wrinkle, looking for the pimple or the spot or the whatever it is. And so that's not a pleasurable experience. That's certainly not a positive loop of, positive reinforcement. It reinforces, it's like we're programming ourselves negatively every time we look in the mirror. And it goes deep. So it's like this cycle of negativity in our own inner dialogue.
Right. And then
so the second step.
Right. That negativity expands
and it grows.
So it's like the thing that was just the little thing in your mind, because you're focusing on it, where focus goes, energy flows. We experience this expansion process, right? Like I can tell you, like the mirror thing, I mean, I'm noticing more gray hairs. Why? Because I'm looking for them, right? Are there actually more, last month? Like this is a great example. So thank you. So the mirrors and how we really do look for that flaw, right?
Right. So my invitation to start to build a positive feedback mechanism, a positive feedback loop that will actually increase your self-love is to consciously make a decision, and you could do that exercise after this call, to go in front of a mirror. It could be a handheld mirror, it could be a big mirror, whatever it is, and to look at yourself and to look for what's beautiful about you. And if you can't find anything, if there's so many things that you're like judging, just look into your eyes, because your eyes are the windows to your soul. And you are beautiful, divine. You're made of divine light, right?
Yes.
And so you can always find light, and you can always find that beauty, and affirm your own beauty by looking into your eyes. Affirm how beautiful you are. Affirm how radiant you are. Affirm how just an incredible miracle you are, because you are. And any of you mothers know this. When you were born, like I remember giving birth to my son, and I know you're a mother too, Kelly, giving birth to my boy, and looking into his eyes for the very first time and crying of the recognition of like, oh my God, this is a miracle. This little child, somehow somebody made this little baby, and here's this little miracle that I get to hold and nurture and love, and a total absolute miracle. So you are that miracle.
Absolutely. If you're liking this, heart us, or tell us the body part that you will now affirm that you love. Is it your eyes? Is it your nose? Is it your mouth? Is it your hair? What is it in the comment section? Like, the body part that you're like claiming, like, I love this, right? We all have the opportunity, because we all are that divine love and that divine light. And wow, right? So here's that spiritual component that you bring to this that I so appreciate, because people aren't having these kinds of conversations linked to image. And I can imagine your little boy as I imagine my little girl, and it's like the universe. It's like you look into the eyes of the beloved, the universe of wherever we came from. It's just, and to think that a mirror has the opportunity
to pure magic,
back, right? Pure magic. I love the hearts. Yay. Yeah, because that's what this is really about, at the heart of the conversation. This is a remembering. It's a remembering of who we are.
That's right. That's right.
So we got number one.
It starts there.
We got number two.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So first, create space, right? Tune out the noise. It's not about you. And then consciously make that loving connection with yourself in the mirror, because it will multiply it. It will make it exponential, because it's that feedback loop. And the more you feel it, the more it's easy, like the easier it becomes to do it. At first, it might feel awkward, since you might have not done that, or not in a very long time. You might have done it when you were a little kid, the little kids dancing for the mirror, and they're, so free. And then we lose that along the way. So it might feel awkward, but keep with it. Yeah. And then make a conscious decision that anytime you're in front of a mirror, do that. Find that moment where you can literally send love to yourself, so you can feel it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So it's like
cool. So that was really
out
the first.
and then tune in, right? It's kind of outward, and then in.
Yeah, turn out the negativity and increase the positivity that you're generating for yourself. But really, you know, that's how you change it. That's how you
absolutely
start to shift it.
I love that. I love how Erica says, we are miracles. Love this. Juicy. So awesome. And my cats are just like all over the place. It's so funny. I do these interviews and anyway, so we might see some fur flying as we're like getting real.
I love it. So no problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. You have a juicy secret, right? That you want to share with our audience. It will allow each woman, I'm checking here, each woman to embody their most beautiful self in 2020. So everyone listen in. Like she's going to drop the bomb. This is a juicy secret. And I thought this was juicy already, especially Erica. Erica thinks it's juicy too. So what is your juicy secret?
Okay, here it is. So now that you've, you know, done what we talked about, created space and connected that loving connection with yourself, the secret is to really to realize that the sacred art of it, I call it the sacred art of adornment. What I call adornment is everything you're putting on yourself. It's the clothing, you know, the colors you're choosing, the textures, the designs, the shapes, the metals, right? The gemstones, all of it. The makeup, the way your hair, that's adornment. And there is a way that you can do your adornment that is actually in energetic alignment with who you really are. Okay? So it's not something that you read in a magazine. It's like, again, back to the trends or the fads of like, okay, this year we're doing the thick eyebrows or the bright red lip or this. I mean, I happen to do bright red lips because it actually works with my design, right? But for some women, that would totally not be the right color for them, right? And so it's like there's a way that just like when women, a lot of times, you know, they have their home and they want to redecorate. So they might hire an interior decorator to help them, or they might, you know, they might love it and they just get a, you know, they do their home and they look at the way the textures work with the colors and the shapes and, you know, and the space and the feel of the space, right? But yet, they don't really do that for themselves. It's like a lot of women will spend so much time and energy really adorning their home or their living space or their office, you know? But yet, when it comes to their actual personal image, it's something that they haven't done. And so the secret is that you are worth that much. You are worth it. You are worth to invest time and energy into really understanding your own design, because here's the key, is that you are made of certain colors, certain pigments. Like Mother Nature chose 6 personal colors when she made you. And those are your skin tone, your blush tone, your related red. Everyone has a red because we all have blood, right? But it's not always a signal red. It could be a burgundy or a coral or a terracotta, right? There's so many reds. You have your eye color, your hair color, and then your related white, which is related to the white of your eyes and the white of your teeth. So skin tone, blush, related red, eye color, hair color, and related white. Those 6 personal colors are the foundation of your color harmony, your color palette. And then your design blueprint is everything else that's not to do with pigment, but design. So it's your geometrical shapes, your sacred geometry, your texture, the texture in your hair and your skin, how much contrast is between your hair and your skin, you know, how many accessories can you actually carry, right, without being drowned or feeling like the costume, right? There's just so many things. And so you have your color palette and you have your design blueprint. And then of course you have your essence, right? Your essence, and it all stems from your essence. Your essence is that inner part of you. And in the world, there's 4 categories of people. There's 4 types of lights that we're sourcing from. And so there's sunlight, twilight, firelight, and moonlight. And so each one of us sources from one of these 4 types of light, and based on the type of light that we're sourcing from, and then how that light translates through our own rainbow, if you will, our own prism of our own palette, line, that is what is congruent with who we are. That is what, when you align yourself with your light and your pigments and your design, that is how you feel at home in your clothes. Your radiance is amplified, your power is stronger. People just look at you and they're like, wow, who is that? Because it your light and your radiance. And so that's the secret, is to really understand that it's not just random stuff, right? It's not just random stuff that people dictate out there that's going to make us look beautiful. Or you see something on a friend and you're like, wow, that looks awesome, let me do that. And then it doesn't work on you. There's a reason for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had no.
So I said a lot of.
I was going to say, I had no idea what was entailed. Yeah. It's like so many different pieces. For those listening, I had the unique opportunity to join Nathalie for a VIP day, and I didn't know what to expect. All I know is my heart said yes. And then, you know, I had to go through like, you're worth it. And like all of that was saying, no, you're crazy. I asked like a bunch of girlfriends, and it was interesting to see the women that were like, yeah, you should do another one, you know, that like want to pull back for you, right? To like, because they feel more you know, and it's just, it was amazing, all the different things I've never thought about. Like you talk about metals, you know, and how I discovered in that day that gold works best for me. Well, growing up, I loved wearing gold and I didn't like silver or platinum. And yet somewhere along the line, I made a shift and all of my jewelry would always be silver or platinum. And then since, I mean, it was only in November that I began working with you, I absolutely love gold and wearing it. As you said, there's like that energetic match of like, oh, that feels right to me. And and so it's just all of these nuances that you've studied and that you bring together, and then you bring your spiritual attunement to. It's like, I'm just amazed. I'm amazed at how many different pieces of the puzzle there are, right? And how one thing, a subtle thing, could make all the difference.
Yes, it's because it's all connected, right? And so it's like, if you think of us, you know, we have an energetic field around us, right? We have our physical form, our physical body, but then we have our auric field, right? We have our light, our field around us. And everything we're introducing into the field, whether it's color, because of course, when we're talking about color, we're talking about different frequencies of light, right? And what's being reflected or what's being absorbed. So, of course, color, but also shapes. Shapes will affect the field and how, you know, so depending on how your energy moves, what you're putting in your field is actually going to be resonant with your field and therefore amplifying your light and your radiance, or it's going to be dissonant in your field and create this kind of static of like dissonant, staticky. It's kind of like this similar, the image I often use is like, you know, when you had the old TV and you were looking for the channel, and then you were like on the snow channel where you're just seeing this like the snow, right? Nothing there, but then you keep turning the dial in, and then you get closer to the TV, and then you see the image, but it's really fuzzy and there's all stuff, and then you get to the clear channel, and now you have a clear picture. It's like that in our field. So when we have alignment, we have clarity. People can see us. People can, you know, really get who we are. And so it's like who we are inside is, we're matching that on the outside, and that congruency creates trust, you know? And then the other piece that I want to add for women who are desiring to be in a relationship, there's an element of this. This was my transformation as well. in terms of like what I thought I was worthy of, even just like if you think about what I would let myself buy for myself, how much I would let myself spend on a dress or a pair of shoes or, you know, whatever it was very low. It was like I had a set point of like, okay, I wasn't going to spend hundreds of dollars on an item. That was like, seemed ridiculous, you know? But then when I learned about this work and I knew exactly what my elements were, right? First of all, it was easier to invest at a little bit of a higher level because I knew it was perfect for me, right? And I could feel the resonance in my being. So it was easier to invest. And then what started happening is like, okay, so I could invest at a little higher level. And oh my God, the effects were incredible. And so then it was like my worthiness, my sense of worthiness of what I was actually worthy of receiving and adorning myself with increased. It was like I expanded what I was like, you know what? And it's not about the money in and of itself, but when you're spending more on a really high quality item that is really well made, the fabric is exquisite, you know, and you put it on and your whole body's like, oh my God, you know, it's like, just feels so good, pleasurable. And it's like, so my whole experience of what I felt worthy of receiving expanded, and that included in relationship, you know, of what I was going to put up with and what I was not going to put up with, what I felt I was worthy of receiving versus what I wasn't gonna, you know what I'm saying? So it really helped me in that arena as well.
Did you find that through this journey, were you not only maybe attracting, tell me this, were you attracting different types of dates or, you know, partnerships? Like what was, once you made this shift, this big shift, it sounds like, you know, there is that dance of the internal and then also the external. You were adorning yourself, you were learning, you were changing, and then you saw this big shift financially, and then you said it also impacted your love life. Because you said you then met your now husband. Can you tell us a little bit more about that love life journey?
Yeah. So when I did this work, I was in a relationship. It wasn't going to go anywhere really. And we broke up. We got back together and then we broke up again. And after that, I started online dating for the first time. You know, I was like, I'm going to try this because I'm busy. I don't have a lot of time. I feel like I can save a lot of time by knowing more about people right off the bat and kind of eliminating them. You know what I mean? Like it just seemed like a time-saving thing. Yeah. So I did that. And at first, whatever, I got all these responses and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I can't handle this. And I took my profile away, you know? And then I just made some tweaks and then I put it back up. And I got, you know, some responses from that. But of those, I only met 3 people like in person because I could eliminate them pretty quickly just from conversations. And then I wasn't going to go on a bunch of dates. But I met 3 people in person from that. And one of them was my husband because I was ready. And I was like, and here's the thing. What I said was because I felt like I'd stepped into my queen archetype. You know? And I wanted to find my king. Literally. That's what I kept saying. It's like I didn't randomly date people. I wanted my king. That's who I wanted. And that's who I attracted. My husband is a king. Like and so literally, like his lineage is of an ancient royal bloodline, you know, the Plantagenets, Richard the Lionheart, like, these guys, this is his lineage.
Oh, wow. I call Richard my king, but I don't know there's lineage there, but he is to me, you know? Oh my gosh, that's so wild.
Yeah. And it was so interesting, Kelly, because what happened was after meeting him, and he's a little older than me, right? So he was mature and wise and just totally in his king archetype. And I was like, oh my God, I was dating boys. And now and I didn't know the difference.
Yeah.
I didn't know the difference because I had never been with a man. Does that make sense? And so it was like, so that was the biggest up level for me. It was like, wow, I was finally, I up leveled my game so that I could attract someone who was so into it. Does that make sense? So that's what happened.
It totally makes sense. Like I can think of the moment, it was actually on our first date. I went, oh my gosh. And what happened was we had this fantastic date. It was a blind date, and that a friend sent us on. And at the end of the date, you know, he went in for the kiss, and some drunk stumbled out of the restaurant. He's like, kiss her. And it threw his game off. Like he was like, he didn't quite know what to do. And there was that moment, because I would have received the kiss. Like that was definitely clear. Like I would, you know, and he kind of like a little like, and then he just kind of stood in his power, and he said, when can I see you again? And I was like, it was that moment that I knew it wasn't a boy. And it wasn't a man, it was a king. Right. And it actually threw me off for a moment, like knowing that I wanted to see him, but it was with such certainty and such directness. And you weren't gonna have to wait for the text and how long until they followed up. And he said, how about this week? So again, like he knew it. And I was like, this week. And I'm thinking, oh, that's soon, you know, in the background of my mind, it's like, do you play games? And I'm thinking, no, I'm not one to play games. I've never been that gal. And so I said, okay. And he said, I think it was a Sunday. And I think he said, how about Wednesday? And I found myself coming up against resistance. I was like, Wednesday, I see patients all day. I don't date during the week. So I had like my rules, right? Which were not serving me with a king. And he came back again in his power, and he said, a girl's got to eat. How about I make you dinner? And it was over. It was done. I was like, like, yes. And it just was so beautiful. But it was in that moment with those two comments of when can I see you again? And a girl's got to eat. Like he didn't receive my objection. He was like, you know, that I knew I was going to be taken care of, and he knew what he wanted. And I was like, this is a different kind of man. And come to find out later, he was a king. You know, but I didn't have that.
There you go.
Yeah. I had never dated a king.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So was there
exactly. So, but
yeah.
But somehow you had done the work to be able to attract that king. Does that make sense? And then to meet him there.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of work, and so that for me, you know, this isn't the only thing I've been doing self-development work for a long time too, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that was a key for me. It was around worthiness and allowing myself to receive, and the adornment was definitely a gateway in. And it didn't happen overnight, you know. But there were these little things, and now it's so much easier for me to just let me look at these beautiful things that I want, and that I feel, okay, I'm worthy of that. Like I get to have that, you know, and not from a wounded ego place either, you know, but like from a powerful place. Does that make sense? Like it's not, So
yeah. And I also love how a king will adorn his queen. Like he comes like bearing, like he wants to lavish her, and he sees her beauty, right? And that it's just such a beautiful magnetic energy when the king and the queen come together in true partnership. And it was, I'd never experienced anything like it before. Yeah. And now this work that I've done with you is like another up leveling of worthiness. Like, you know, and making that investment. And I've noticed a big difference in my confidence and just feeling good, like putting clothes on and having like a, ooh, that feels good. Or I don't know, it's the little things, but it makes such a big difference. It really does.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. When I have this image of like our field, you know, like who we are in our, we're out like centered, strong in our power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our field around. In the field, the stronger the field, it's almost like this protective, not barrier, but layer around us, you know? And the stronger the field, the more we can be in our center, because but if it's leaky and it's you know, staticky, or if it's unclear, or anything that's pulling away from it, makes us less strong, essentially powerful at the center of it. So the stronger you are in, you know, who you are, and the more you know who you are. And this is part of what this work is about, is really understanding who we are, and how the adornment piece is a key element of that. We have to get dressed all the time. And it's not just for, yes, it's good for dating, of course, because we know that if you know, you're wearing a blush related color, or you're red, that's related to your blood, and so therefore it's related to passion and, you know, emotion. And so, and then of course your blush is going to make you look flirtatious and fresh and youthful and, you know, vibrant in an intimate kind of friendly kind of way, you know. And the red is an even deeper version of that. So you can, you know, different colors do different things, and when you wear what depends on what effect you want to have. So, but in your career, you don't necessarily want to do the blush tone, you know. Maybe you want to do the power color. You want to be the credible colors, right? So it's like, it's not just that you looking great in all your colors. It's also that strategic intention about, like, how do you want to feel and how do you want to be perceived? Because you're communicating all the time, visually.
Right.
And so what are you actually saying to yourself and to others?
Right. Right. Absolutely. So I know that you had shared that you had worked with a woman named Suzanne Cagle, the Suzanne Cagle method. Like what, like how is that different, or what was it that attracted you to this style of work, and how are you the same or different? Because I know we talked just a little bit about that when I was in your office, and you spoke to, there are pieces of your training that you did not agree with, and you were a stand to do something different. So can you tell us a little bit about the training and how, you know, what that has been like for you?
Sure. Absolutely. So this lineage, so Suzanne was a genius. She was a visionary. And so what happened was she started out as a hat maker, a milliner. She was making hats. But she, you know, obviously she knew design and textures and colors and all that. But she was sitting in her garden one day, and she had this vision. She had this vision of how the seasonal essences and the qualities of the lights and the qualities of the way the flowers grow and their qualities and the energy of that season, in all four seasons, and how they related it to us as human beings, men and women. And so she developed this whole system, which is a seasonal essence system, which a lot of people might have heard about, you know, the spring, summer, fall, winter, because it became trivialized in the 80s with a book called Color Me Beautiful. Someone took Suzanne's work and just diluted it very, very, simplified it too much, really. But it became popular at that time. And so Suzanne, you know, so she started to do palettes for people, you know, to do palettes and design. And so much of my training, I mean, this is the essence of the work that I do. What I didn't love about it is the transmission originally was done in the, I'm the expert, and therefore you have to listen to me, and you don't really have a say in it, you know, because I know what's right. And, you know, and for me, I mean, yes, okay, I have information. I trained, you know, I had 4 different mentors in this system, because there's no school really teaching this method right as it is right now. But they had all, my mentors had apprenticed with Suzanne directly. They were her students, because they're in their 80s now, right? 70s, 80s, they're elderly women. And so I took what I loved about it, which is the essence of the work, and what I brought to the work is the sacredness of the work, is the spirituality, is the nurturing, is the loving care of. It's a big transmission to receive your colors and your design, and there's a lot of emotion that can come up attached to things. You know, we believe things, and that sometimes there's like it's an emotional. Like we have something because it feeds us or it protects us emotionally for a certain reason. And so I believe that holding a loving, nurturing, caring environment that is emotionally safe for women to be able to receive the transformation, and not, oh, I'm the expert and this is what's right. It's like showing people different things, you know, like sometimes there's two colors that are great. And so I give you the choice. I'm like, okay, which one do you like better? You know, and you're like, I like that one. So like, great, you can have that one. They're both good. I'm not going to give you something that doesn't work, but you get to choose. So the way I do it is much more collaborative, and it's a co-creative experience. And then also something that nobody else does. I have this gift. I have a very strong intuitive gift. And so I can close my eyes and I literally see the way your light moves, like its qualities and like the movement of it and its expression. And so at the end of the session, I tune into your essence and I describe your light to you. And then I give you this beautiful name that when you hear it, it's just like, that's me. Like you feel so seen on such a deep level, because it's like your essence, right? So being reflected in that way. So nobody does that in my lineage that I've ever heard of. So
what a gift.
So I add, yeah.
What a gift.
Thank you.
And with my experience, I wanted to show the women who are listening, when you're talking about your color palette, this is what you get when you work with Nathalie. Like, these are all my yummy colors. And I can remember I was trying to decide with my Magnetize Your Man what colors to use in that. And so that was one of my intentions in working with you, is like, I want to know my colors. And I already knew that it was going to be some version of purple or red, and the accent was going to be gold. So when I came to you, I had this like, okay, I think I know. And it was awesome, because in that color palette, I saw my two colors. And I said, they were actually the original colors of my original business expression of life. And so then it came to decide, is it going to be red or purple? Like, I got the confirmation from you. I was on track. And I can remember having a conversation with my sister, and I said, you know what? This color red was my favorite color growing up. It was like my favorite, like everything was red, right? And I associated my childhood and my vibrancy, and somewhere along the way, I lost that. And I rediscovered red not that long ago, like several years, but not really owning it. And one of my concerns is, well, if I choose red, is that too loud? And I asked my sister, like, no, like, that's who you are. It's stand for it. It's time that you take a stand. And if you're too loud for people, you're not your people. And it was like this permission to return to the red. And so you gave me that gift. And it was like, once I made it, then it's like, I like love seeing what the impact, I mean, just a color, one color. And the memory met, you know, the playfulness and the joy. And my inner child was acknowledged through a color palette working with you. And I think that's so amazing, how much story and a knowingness when you are able to share the colors and it's received in the way that you share it. So
thank you. Yeah, and the beauty of this, to acknowledge you, Kelly, is that and I see this a lot with my clients, is that my son is just doing a little cameo appearance, not quite. He's 7. But he, as a child, we're all intuitive.
Yeah.
And so you naturally just gravitate towards things that make you happy, that you love. And you're like, okay, you know, and so you loved your red. And red is a vibrant color. It's related to your blood. So it is very dynamic. It's very strong. It's very passionate.
Yeah.
And you're a very passionate person. So no wonder you actually gravitate towards your red. And then somehow along the way, we hear something, somebody tells us something, we make a decision that, like, and it's a way that we turn against ourselves in a way. And I think for you, especially with your seasonal essence, that is the theme for so many of you, where you hear you're too loud, you're too much, turn it down, because you have a lot of energy and you're vibrant. And so people that are quieter or more introverted around you, they're like, okay, you're too loud, just shh, and they try to dim your light. And so you make it like, oh, I'm too much. I'm too loud. There's something wrong with me, so I have to tone it down.
Right.
And so this is really permission to be you. It's like, it's true. You are that. You are that vibrancy. You are that just full on, alive, expressive expression of the divine. That's how you're wired. That's how you're made. That's how Mother Nature made you.
Yeah.
And so you get to be that. You get to be that. Yeah.
Thank you. So juicy.
It's true.
Yay! Well, I am so excited to have you at our event here in Boulder. Magnetize Your Man. We're going live. And Nathalie is going to on our third day. So we have 3 days set aside, January 17th, 18th, and 19th. On the first day, we're going to help women to release their past. You know, we live often through the lens of our past, and like we just were sharing, like the past conditioning, like somewhere along the lines, as you said, like there was part of me that kind of, you know, maybe shut down is a strong word, but disengaged from truth. And so we all have our past that we carry that holds us, you know, disconnected from finding true love. And so we do that on day 1. Day 2, we're going to help women to reconnect to their feminine power so that they can be in their power and strong and a stronger magnet. And I tell people it's kind of like if you've had that experience when you've been driving around and you haven't cleaned your windshield and you can see no problem. You don't even think it's a problem. And then someone either cleans your windshield or you do it. Maybe it's your king. And everything's so bright. Like there's vivid like colors and like you can actually see people on the road, you know. So we're going to do a version of that in cleaning your feminine magnet so you're bright and shining and you're your unique essence. We just say, you know, I can be, you know, lots of energy, and then we have like the inner, the quiet ones, you know. And so it's like it's about returning to the essence of whatever that is, and the uniqueness of what makes you so beautiful and so amazing. So that magnet's going to be bright and shiny. And then Nathalie will come in on the 3rd day, which is rewriting your love story. And she has a whole segment, you know, that you're going to share with us to help us really have a deeper understanding of what you're sharing today, so that women can rewrite that love story and go out and magnetize their king. So I'm so excited to have you. And I also know I shared with our community that you have a special gift for people who are listening. And that gift is around dating, like what to wear on your first date. And so people who have listened in to you know the end, that that you can receive that if you want to. Probably the easiest. What's the easiest way to do that, Nathalie? For the
I can share the link maybe in the comments. I don't know if that's gonna stay or not. But yeah, it's essentially, you know, I was talking about the different colors, and I teach you a little bit about how to kind of find your blush tone and your red, you know, how to identify what that is for you. And then I talk about that and why that's, you know, those are good colors to wear in a dating situation, and then more around the design elements that you might consider based on your own personal design. So I share a little bit more about the approachable versus formal scale, and there's some juicy content in there. So it's a short video training, but it's you know, a lot of content. So I can put the link in here if you want. That would be easy.
We can do that. And then to join us for those 3 days, I'll also put the link for drkellylive.com. And so right now we have a special, and I'm not sure how long we're going to be able to do it, but you can come at a partial scholarship. The value on those 3 days is $997. And with this partial scholarship, you can come join us for all 3 days for only $97. So you just go to drkellylive.com, and we're doing a bring a friend for free. And again, this is for a limited time. We don't know how long we're going to be able to offer this, but if you're listening right now, you know, 2020, it is your year. If you claim it, your year for love. And there is nothing like wanting and having that desire for love in your heart and to actually magnetize it. Like, Nathalie and I want to support you in that being your reality. I mean, what would it look like if this time next year you have this king by your side who's adorning you and you feel amazing and you know your worth and you move in the world differently and you share your light and your passions with this amazing man. So I'm so excited to have women join us. And we do have a little bit of time. I'm not sure how we'll work with questions. I think you can put them in the comment section, like if there's any questions. Leslie said the awakening dentist. I'm not sure. Maybe she's an awakening dentist. That's kind of cool. In the comments, we had Robin.
Kelly.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, I didn't know how to post in the comments from this, and so I actually just sent you a Facebook message with the link to the free gift.
Okay.
I don't know if you can post it. I'm not sure because I can't see the video on your Facebook page either. So I just wanted to share.
I can come back and do that.
We'll take some questions. If you wanna, if any of you have any questions, or then we can. And I just want to, as you're thinking about your question, maybe I just want to just really say how incredible this event is going to be, and the women who get to attend are like, it's going to totally transform your life if you get to attend, because Kelly is amazing and she's been helping women for a really long time with this. She's just expanding the work and just reaching more women at the same time now, right? And so it's like, it's, and I know her, and I know how much she cares and what she's capable of. So I just think it's going to be an absolutely incredible event, and do whatever you can to make it, because it will change your life. It's for sure. So.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. My commitment is that it's also so much fun. Like, it is a dance party. We'll be dancing together. We'll shed some tears together. And you don't have to do this all alone. I mean, we will, get arm in arm in sisterhood and have accountability partners for this up and coming year for love. Like, what would it look like if you had a sister on the path that, we're going to have women flying in from all over the country. So I encourage you to bring your best friend, bring a gal in your life that also is looking for love. And when you both commit, like, the power of intention of a sacred community saying, we are claiming love this year. I mean, we have that power of, women and our ability to intuit and to support and to love up on one another so that this dream becomes a reality. And I'm really a stand for that in the community. So my voice is getting a little shaky, and it doesn't look like we have any questions. So feel free, if you're listening to the recording of this, to ask questions. If I'm able to, I will answer them. If there's a question I don't know the answer to, I will see if I can ask Nathalie. But we're here in service in the Divine Feminine. And just thank you so much, Nathalie. What a joy it's been just to share with you. Oh, yes, Erica says, yes, Magnetize Your Man in 2020. I'm so excited. Dr. is a healer. Dr. Kelly is a healer, a rock star, and committed to breakthrough and bravery for us all. 2020 is our year for love. Claim love this year. So anyway, so exciting. 2020 is going to be awesome. So thank you. We're going to go ahead and close out. So have a fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and join us in Boulder. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Join us. Okay. Bye-bye.